Hey, hello. Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast, the most Mark-filled podcast in all of the world. You love it. We love it. Everyone loves it. I don't know why I have to explain that to you, actually. My name is Joey. I am joined by Tristan and Taya, and we are celebrating the return of Chad, Tristan, in this case, Johnson. He is back on the podcast. We've missed him. Everyone's missed him. You guys wrote in the comments for the past 2 weeks, not the week before, but the past 2 weeks that you missed him. And that's great. He appreciates that. So we're welcoming him back. But we do have a lot to talk about. So just a quick, just chat, say hi to everyone real quick, if you don't mind.
Hola from Tristan.
All right. Thank you very much. And now we can get into business. So on January 1st, 2022, the year of the mark, as it's always been known, there was actually a wrestling pay-per-view right off the bat. For one day, 100% of the days in 2022 had wrestling pay-per-views. It's insane. Like 100% of the days in 2022 have had wrestling shows. It's a bit claustrophobic, actually. But WWE had a pay-per-view, and that pay-per-view was day one, and it was supposed to be a big deal, according to them. They really wanted to set things off on the right foot with this pay-per-view and make it feel special. So to do that, they did something that they've never done before, and that is have Roman Reigns face Brock Lesnar in a one-on-one match. And that didn't happen because, unfortunately, and I will make jokes about this, but still, unfortunately, Roman Reigns came down with COVID. And I say unfortunately, and that's only because, he's a human being and I don't want anything bad to happen to him. And he's had cancer. So, I have sympathy for him. But as a wrestling fan, I'm really glad we didn't get this match again. As terrible as that is, feel better, Roman Reigns. And I'm sure you will because you beat cancer. So what's this to you? So instead of having Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, WWE did their typical back against the wall thing and just threw something crazy out there. And they put Brock Lesnar in the WWE title match. A title match that 6 weeks ago started as Seth Rollins versus Big E, then turned into Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins versus Big E. And then for absolutely no fucking reason turned into Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens versus Big E. And every person that got added to this match pushed Big E down the totem pole of relevance more and more and more. And then they added Brock Lesnar. And then Brock Lesnar won that match. And he pinned Big E when you have a perfectly good Kevin Owens right there. And as sad as it is to say that, that's the truth, because he already resigned, so they don't got to worry about protecting him because they don't care anymore. So why do you pin Big E in that situation? But anyway, that's a brief summary of what happened at day one. Nothing else mattered in the show, but this is the only noteworthy thing. I don't think, as much as this Brock Lesnar is better, he looks like he's having fun, and there's some enjoyment to be had there. I think most people don't want to see him in Roman anymore. So this almost feels like a nice way to pull him away from Roman, even though we all know that's not what's happening. But none of us wanted this to happen to Big E, who, in fairness, his title reign has not been very good. It's no fault of his own. We all wish they gave him more, but they didn't really do much with him as champion. But this is not how anyone wanted his title reign to end, with such a whimper. And he's immediately out of the title picture because Bobby Lashley is the number one contender, because they just have to have that match, which in Bobby's defense, he wanted since he returned. So at least he's getting what he wants. But I don't think anyone was a huge fan of how this all came to be. So Chad, I'm going to throw you right into the fire. You haven't been here in a while. I just went over a lot of different things, but what is your take on all of this?
Yes, my take is this pay-per-view was trash, guys. It was trash. I'm glad you went to me before you went to James because I'm quite sure he'll have something optimistic to say about any of this. This was a clusterfuck for me. It was trash. I watched it like with one eye open. I was half asleep. I kept waking up to more trash. Biggie losing was trash. Lesnar winning was trash. The match itself was okay. Other than that, I don't care. I don't care about any of it. I'm cool with Lashley going against Lesnar. It would have been better if that happened during Lashley's reign instead of now, which they absolutely could have done. But they went to do the whole Roman shit. Roman, get better soon. Trash.
Yeah, Roman trash. I agree that they should have done that match during Lashley's title reign. It would make so much more sense. And yeah, the show was it was a very nothing show. The match was okay. It was, but that's the one bright thing I'll say about Lesnar is the style of match that comes along with him is most of the time going to be exciting because it's very fast paced. It's very big move, big move, big move, and it's good. It's just if it was like 10 minutes longer, I think we could have enjoyed the match to the point where we wouldn't be as bitter about the ending. Or maybe I'm wrong. Here to enlighten us is the one and only Taya Gardner.
I was initially upset about the Taya thing, just going to put this out there, but then I realized, and this is not a knock on Chad at all, Tristan's dueling skills were shit. I would 100% rather be Taya. So I thank you for the, I hope, intentional compliment. But as far as day one goes, a whatever pay-per-view that had moments of enjoyability, like, I'm not gonna lie, it was hype for me to see Beth Phoenix coming out like a Viking goddess. That was cool. As far as the main topic at hand, again, gonna reiterate, so I hope Roman is okay. I hope he recovers well and that COVID is just a little speed bump for him. I feel terrible for Big E. I have felt terrible for Big E from the day he won the title, which was just so slapped together, it feels like, to now him losing the title. You asked Danny, why have Big E be the guy to take the pin? The answer is obvious. It's because they don't want Big E back in the title picture, at least not right now. It's why Bobby Lashley is getting the match with Brock and Big E isn't getting the rematch with Brock. They just want to move on, at least for the time being. And that sucks. I hope this means that maybe we see Big E reunite with New Day, like in an official capacity, but God knows how that'll go. I thought the match itself was fun. I thought the match itself was fine. I know that a bunch of those guys are capable of going the distance and having a long match that can be really enjoyable. Seth is capable of it. Kevin's capable of it. Big E can go in bursts, I think. Bobby could go either way. And we all know that Brock Lesnar is a sprinter, not a country runner. And, I'm excited for Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. That's one of the last few dream matches I think WWE can offer me at this point with the roster they have. It's something I've been wanting for a very long time, but I also do agree this is a match that could have 100% happened when Bobby was champion initially. That said, I am kind of hopeful that I think Bobby's actually going to beat Brock here. Because I think we're going to get some Samoan shenanigans to help Bobby get the win. But I, just like every Brock Lesnar title defense, with every opponent that I get excited to take the title off him, I keep my expectations in check because I know more than likely it's just going to be Roman that beats him. Yeah, I feel for you, Chad, because I'm similarly in the same boat. I'm not happy for Big E. My heart goes out to that reign because it could have been so much more, but the match itself did have fun. Brock suplexed like a beast that he is. That spear through the barricade, no matter how overplayed it gets, I always love seeing it. And yeah, I guess we'll just see what comes next, which is somehow still going to be Roman versus Brock in some capacity eventually down the line.
Yep. Farmer Brock versus COVID Reigns. It's going to be so great. Can't wait. And one quick note on what you said earlier about the show having its moments and you popping for Beth Phoenix. I love Beth Phoenix so much. I'm so glad she's back. But the same way I feel about Edge wasting any of what little matches he has left on The Miz, Beth wasting any matches on Maurice, such a waste. No offense, Maurice, you're a cool person, but like,
cool statistic
not a wrestler
about
anymore.
Cool statistic about it though. Yeah, like I do. It is interesting. I don't know how many opponents can say that. Chad, do you know it?
I don't.
Beth Phoenix and Maurice will be the first people to wrestle each other 3 times in 3 different decades, which, you know, is cool. But oh man, you know, Maurice is not really a wrestler anymore, and you know, Beth, I still think is better than 95% of all women's wrestlers. But you know, you got a perfectly good Becky Lynch right there. You have a perfectly good Rhea Ripley right there. You have a perfectly good Bianca Belair who uses Beth's finisher as a setup move. The disrespect, right there. And you're doing Maurice, like you're doing a match from 2006. You know, like it's the WWE way if I've ever seen one. But yes, we'll see what happens with Lesnar. It's just as fun as some of these moments have been, there's just not anything super good to look forward to. But alas, we will move on to something equally deflating, I'd say. Maybe more, maybe less, dependent on whether Roman gets better or not. But sorry, it's a little morbid, but WWE has gone back to their old ways. Their new year, new me mentality has already ran out. They broke the resolutions and they've started releasing people again because it's just been way too long since they've let anyone go from their contract. And, you know, they were going through withdrawals. They had to do it. They were shaking, they were quivering, they were getting cold sweats. They had to let someone go. And who better to let go than all the people who made the original NXT or the second original NXT what it was. People like William Regal, most noteworthy, Scott Armstrong, who did a bunch of backstage stuff, and Ryan Katz, who did a lot of the write-in for NXT. They also let go of Road Dogg, but I feel nothing about that. So I'm gonna wait until I think of something mean to say about it, and then I'll say it. But it just seems kind of not symbolic because it's really on the nose. It's so on the nose that with NXT 2.0 being what it is and the direction they're going in, they of course would get rid of all the people that had something to do with the original NXT. I actually have a quote that they sent out to the released talent, which is, with the continued evolution of NXT 2.0, we've decided to part ways with some of the staff based in our performance center. We thank them for their many contributions throughout the years, and we wish them the best, which is honest of them, I guess. That's a very honest statement to just send to these people or to send out about it. And it just seems like they really want Triple H to die. You know, he had a cardiac event not too long ago, and he's been gone. He's been recovering, and they don't want him to live. I don't know it's so weird because it's like, if you kill Triple H, Stephanie's still there, and like you're gonna see her every day. It's gonna be so awkward that you killed her husband, and you know she's still gonna be there. And I just don't understand. And you know, the nail in the coffin, what happened on NXT last week, this week, depending on when you see this, where Braun Breaker, whose name is just fantastic, defeated Ciampa. He's the NXT champion. Champion might as well leave now because the clock is ticking, buddy. It's not looking good. You know, you're beloved back there, but that doesn't mean anything because William Regal was beloved, and look what happened to him. So with that direction of NXT, can you really say that you're surprised, Timothy? Like, this is really a shock at this point. This is the third time in 5 podcasts me and you were talking about people getting fired. So
I actually got to think back, but I think that was part of our predictions for 2022, that we were expecting more releases. And, you know, WWE does not disappoint, or they do, you know, because I'm disappointed. Going in order here, I'm just going to say any company that cannot find the value in keeping William Regal on their roster, or on their payroll, I should say, doesn't know how to manage anymore. They just don't. I'm not going to sit here and say that Regal, you know what? I am going to say it. Regal has helped create one of the best brands over the last decade. And that's because he was their talent scout for so many indie guys who became NXT stalwarts. Or I think I said that correctly. But basically any major indie guy who got an opportunity and went to NXT can probably thank William Regal. And it's a shame because he has such a good eye for talent. Beyond the fact that I think he's probably one of the best on-screen general managers we've ever seen in WWE. His eye for talent is so precious, and his wisdom is so appreciated. So this is not Regal's loss. This is WWE's loss. I hope that any company that can take him will throw anything they can at him in a backstage role, even an on-screen role in some capacity. And I wish him the best because he deserves it. And going on to the surprises of this all, no, this is NXT 2.0. I don't know if this is a punishment to Triple H for losing a battle against AEW that I don't think he ever wanted to have, nor was it ever realistic to expect him and NXT to win in the first place. The moment you put a developmental brand against a main roster, high caliber roster, the way AEW has it, it doesn't matter who's on that developmental brand. It doesn't matter that it's Adam Cole or Finn Balor. The moment you call yourself developmental, you are going to be viewed as less necessary. And that's what happened. I wasn't watching NXT. I was watching Dynamite. I just was. And it's not a knock on the NXT talent whatsoever. I love Adam Cole, baby. And I love Johnny Gargano, and I love Tommaso Ciampa, but I'm going to watch what is treated as a big deal in Dynamite. Ciampa dropping the title to Braun Breaker was just a matter of time. If they want to transition NXT back into a true developmental brand, you put it on a developmental talent like Breaker. And the truth is, he seems very ready. He seems very capable. I'm sure Ciampa did a great job of highlighting his strengths and hiding his weaknesses. But moving forward, I don't think we're going to see established stars ever hold the NXT title again. I think we're just going to see developmental talent moving on. And beyond Breaker winning the NXT title, you have Carmelo Hayes unifying the Cruiserweight title and the North American title by pinning Roderick Strong, another NXT veteran at this point. I think NXT is looking forward. NXT is looking towards the future, and it's just a bad idea to not hold on to this amazing talent from the past. But hey, if anyone else gets released, as much as I don't want to see anybody get fired, there are plenty of other places to work where they'll be highlighted a lot better.
That is true. And I should also add that Timothy Thatcher, Danny Burch, and a third person were released. I cannot remember that third person's name at this time. I'm very professional. But Chad, you loved loved NXT very much, and now it's gone. It's gone. Are you okay? How are you holding up?
I'm fine because I have AEW now, but everyone knows, yeah, I'm the NXT stan. Even when they did the whole new flip, I said, it's gonna be high quality horse shit, but I'll still watch it. Or maybe I'll attach myself to someone new. I hate going after James because I feel like James literally solidifies every point, like every point in everything that he says just hits home. So he pretty much summed up exactly how I feel. What a loss for WWE in William Regal. I think I'm not surprised, but such a loss. Like James said, I can't even fathom bringing up words to explain how innovative and important I felt like he was to the NXT brand. So, I mean, William Regal has to go to AEW. I'm with James, like he said in the group chat. There's only a few people that I want to see come over to the company of AEW, and William Regal is absolutely one of them. I'll go a little bit more underrated and Stanish. I kind of thought Timothy Thatcher would fight Ciampa at one point in time for the championship. So I'm a little irate about that. However, like James said again, Braun Breaker's he's pretty good. I can't complain about him. I guess we just have to look onward and forward. I love Carmelo Hayes as well. Just a last.
I agree, Chad. God, sometimes it's so unbearable having to go after James. He's just, but I think he has something else to say. So, hold on.
Chad, I think you would have gotten Thatcher versus Ciampa at one point if this was the black and gold brand.
Agreed.
I think that match was an inevitability before NXT 2.0, but that's a shame. Thatcher is somebody I'm very interested to see if he ends up going anywhere, because he's a very specific type of wrestler, but I think in the right environment, he can thrive. Initially, I thought that right environment was NXT, but I hope he can find it elsewhere now.
You're so optimistic. Oh God. Yeah, I agree with you guys said about Regal. I think he'll be an asset to AEW as, someone working backstage, someone maybe doing commentary, someone just helping the talent who haven't had as much TV time as others. He is nothing but an asset. I think everyone has nice things to say about William Regal. I wanted to talk about one more person before I shout on this person real quick, but I can't remember what I was going to say. So, like I said earlier, Road Dogg also got fired, but I kind of find it funny because and this is me being a little bit of a dick, but whatever. Road Dogg's one of those guys that likes to blame the fans for why the product sucks. Like he's one of those types of guys, and it's always so disheartening when that happens, because it makes me lose so much respect for certain people when they make these claims, because it's just, we've talked about it before in the podcast, but it just means that you're so far in the WWE bubble that your judgment's clouded. You can't see straight. Your head is so far up your own ass that you think this is what normal looks like. And because I haven't really talked about Becky Lynch this week, and I always find a way to mention her every podcast, he was one of the people when Becky was supposed to turn heel. She slapped Charlotte and became the most over person in the company in 2018. And fans were complaining, oh, you just put the title on Charlotte again. It makes no sense. Why was she in that match? And it made no sense while she was in that match. Just because we got what we got out of it doesn't mean that you were right to do that, because that's not what you planned. What you planned didn't happen. It was once again us taking control of the situation. Road Dogg's one of those people who are like, oh, you guys just need to have patience. It's all part of the plan. You need to play things out. It's part of a story. There was no story. You just wanted the title on Charlotte again. And he's one of those people. He blames the fans. He always throws the, oh, everyone wants instant gratification line out there. And once you say that, I kind of disregard a lot of what you say, because I think it's just a cop out of an excuse. So yeah, he lost his job, and I hope he doesn't show up in AEW. Once again, though, kind of like Jeff Hardy, if we had a one-off with him and Billy Gunn just having a promo real quick and then losing the match in 2 minutes, I'd accept that. But for him to actually be there, I don't really want. Do you guys want to shit on Road Dogg real quick, or by all means, take it away. Either one of you guys, I don't care.
I will go first because who can follow James? James is a tough act to follow. But I will say this. In regards to wasting my time, I won't do that with the unanimous worst wrestler in DX history.
Yeah,
over to you, James.
Yeah, now that you said that, yeah, it's pretty obvious now that you said it out loud.
It is that. First of all, that was beautiful, Chad. I'm flattered that you say I'm a hard act to follow, but that was beautiful. I'm gonna go simple to fuck Road Dogg. He is a shill. He was so far up Triple H's ass. He is lucky to have had that job. I can't say, you know what? Thank God Road Dogg produced that segment. That's what made it good. I can't recall any segment that Road Dogg was behind that I was like, this is what I wanted out of my wrestling show today. I would love if he did go to AEW to just do his old VKM shit from TNA back in the day with Billy Gunn. I don't know if you guys remember it or are familiar with it in general, but the Voodoo Kid Mafia, fuck that, fuck Road Dogg. And you know what? I'm just glad Billy Gunn has aged gracefully comparatively to Road Dogg. That's it. Sayonara,
steroids will do that to you.
Hit the road, dog.
Nice.
Damn it.
I'm sorry, guys.
Me or James would say, so it's fine. Blends right
Damn
in.
it.
Yeah, so yeah, rest in peace, NXT, the original NXT 2.0. Okay, and rest in peace, the original game show NXT. But a quick, I guess, hot take, but I actually like the color splash art of the NXT 2.0. To me, that's the absolute best part of it. But I also like that kind of art style. So, it's personal to me, but that's the one thing I won't shit on NXT 2.0 is I like the splash paint logo.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it either. It's just one of those things that it's so, it feels so counter to AEW, not to AEW, to what NXT was. And it also does sort of feel like a copy off AEW, because their thing with Dynamite, there was lots of splashes of color. It was like that colored smoke that they would do in their promos for Dynamite. I feel like it was an unintentional ripoff, but it felt, I don't know, whatever. I don't hate it though.
Also, did we not think Braun Breaker would be the NXT champion when his attire resembled the fucking logo?
He's not the face of NXT. He's the attire of NXT. He is the trunks of NXT.
He really embodies what NXT 2.0 is. Emphasis on body.
Yep. Oh man.
So, guys, we have to move on to somehow an even more serious topic. I feel like to keep escalating as the episode goes on. We went from COVID to people losing their jobs, which surprisingly wasn't related to COVID, to a way more serious topic, especially in terms of how it's perceived by the public. And I was thinking to myself earlier, how am I going to joke about this? Like, it's just not right, you know? It's just, there is a time and a place. And then I was on my way to work earlier, and I found out that there is someone in my neighborhood who has on display proudly in their window a swastika, like just straight up in their window. And they have a Confederate flag sticker above their door, but that almost seems like duh after seeing the swastika, you know? Because some people will lie to themselves about what the Confederate flag means, but there's like no, you know, there's no gray area on what a swastika means. So, you know, if any of you guys out there are kind of mad about that, this person lives between Bronxdale and Rhinelander Avenue on Matthews Avenue, between Bronxdale and Rhinelander in the Bronx. So if you're in the neighborhood, by all means, go share your opinion with this person, who I can only assume is of a certain age and background. But, you know, I don't know.
Respectfully and civilly express your opinion. Non-violently.
Express yourself to your best understanding of the law and what you can get away with.
There we go.
But, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. So, on that note, it almost dampens the blow of what we're about to talk about. So, Big Swole is one of the few people, maybe the only one, who hasn't re-signed with AEW. Her contract ran out, and she opted not to re-sign. And when that initially happened, she did say that they left on mutual terms and on good terms. But recently, while talking about her departure from the company, she criticized the company, which is okay to do. You can criticize AEW. Some of us are a little too defensive. You know, there's a lot of tribalism going on, and that is bad. It is okay to criticize the company. That being said, you can make whatever you want of what she said. Just, you know, if you disagree, do it, you know, with logic, and don't just shit on someone for not liking the company you love or for criticizing it. Okay. And if this may seem like obvious to you, the reason I'm saying it is more for people like, you know, like Tony Khan, you know, like people who just have not responded to this well. So while criticizing the company, she did talk about structure, and we'll get into that shortly, but she did originally talk about structure. But the part that's gaining all the heat and controversy is her quote, which I will read directly so that there's, you know, I don't want to misrepresent anything she's trying to say. What she said was, outside of lack of structure, their biggest issue is diversity. I do not beat around the bush when it comes to diversity in my people. There is no representation, truly. And when there is, it does not come across in the Black community as genuine at all. I don't know why everybody is so afraid to accept it or say it, but it's not a good look. What happens is you have this wonderful company that treats people like family, but there is nobody that looks like me that is represented at the top and in the room with them. They are not helping to necessarily influence decisions, but to explain why certain slang and certain words shouldn't be said. There is no one else who can explain our culture and experience except for us. The second quote is, I knew something was up when my daughter, who loves watching wrestling, she would watch AEW all the time and seldomly watch WWE. She is not a big fan unless Dad, Cedric Alexander, was on TV. which stopped happening after they botched the Hurt Business. She would say, Mommy, there's nobody that looks like me on AEW. There's nobody that looks like Daddy. Then she started watching WWE because she saw Bianca and Big E. She saw herself represented. And if that wasn't a click, you were absolutely right. I don't have an explanation. It's 2021. Why are people saying it'll take 3 years for AEW to have a black champ? This is a scripted sport. It should not take that long if you have been watching WWE for 50 plus years and know what not to do. So that was what she said that has garnered a lot of backlash. And we'll get into our thoughts on what she said, how we feel about it, whether we agree or not. But I do feel like this part of what she said gets lost in the shuffle. So I'm going to read what she said before this. It was more addressing why she left and some of the other issues she thought the company had. And the quote is, my heart just stopped being in it as the reason why I left AEW. I felt like there were a lot of things, and I told them in my exit interview, there are a lot of things that need to change. I know fans of the company don't take criticism well sometimes, certain ones. Know this is somebody from the inside. The structure is a little off. It's fine to be loose, but I like to have a little bit more structure. I felt like the women shouldn't have gone through everything they went through just to get on TV or get time. You're signed to this big company, you should get time. All these men are getting time, but the women weren't getting anything, or you're not putting people on TV because more people are coming in. Okay, there are more people coming in, but you don't have enough product for all these people. Now you have all these people sitting around and having 2 or 3 minute matches on Dark. Doesn't keep me happy. Excuse me. Shoveling more money doesn't keep a person happy. We've seen time and time again, especially in a place where there's not enough space. There's no writers in the sense. Not everyone is comfortable writing their own things. Closed mouths don't get fed. That's exactly what that environment is. If you're shy and don't know how to write or are not creative, it's not going to work unless they want it to work for you. That's one of the biggest issues. So, end of quote. I feel like there's actually a lot to take away from that quote. I think we share a lot of the same sentiments with her about the representation of the women on AEW, and they are doing a lot better now than they were, but it's still critiquable, and that is, I won't disagree with her too much there. I get what she means. I do feel bad for the people who aren't super creative and just know the craft of wrestling, and they don't want to write all these complex stories for themselves. That's I remember Angelico and Jack Evans saying that the reason they aren't on TV more because they're just not creative people and they don't have any ideas to go to Tony with, so they just take whatever scraps fall their way. And I felt bad. I'm like, it's nice that the wrestlers have so much creative control, but you got to help the people that need the help too. That's why you can bring in a guy like a William Regal or someone. You have Big Show, you have Mark Henry, you have Christian, you have all these guys that are creative and can think of stories and help these people. I think that's a fair criticism of the company, and you can do that. I think we all agree about the way Dark and Dark Elevation work. It's cool that it's there, but that's not the same as being on TV, and you can't make us care about those matches as much as the ones on TV. That's just how it is. But and I think it's pretty funny that pretty much immediately she pointed out that AEW fans don't take criticism well, and then they took this criticism very poorly, almost right off the bat. So, good call, Big Swole. Even if I don't agree with everything you said, you knew what you were getting into, and at least there's that. And Tony Khan responded like a teenager, which is not new for him, honestly. He went on to list all the people of color that have won matches over the past month, and then just said he didn't re-sign Big Swole because she wasn't that good of a wrestler, which, just not a great retort. Not a great retort. So we'll get into it more. A bunch of people got involved. Leo Rush, unsurprisingly, got involved because if you guys remember, I don't even know how long it's been now, 2 years since he left WWE. He did have certain problems with the structure back there and certain things that he didn't think reflected well on his community. So, not to make a joke about him interjecting himself, but I just find it funny that it's like, of course Leo Rush was it was inevitable he was gonna get involved. And he basically told Tony Khan to apologize. And they actually had a conversation with Tony Khan and then came out in support of Tony Khan, not against Big Swole, importantly, but, having a good conversation with Tony Khan and reaching a mutual understanding, which is so crazy to think, that sounds unfathomable. How can you disagree with someone and then talk things out? What the fuck? That's not how anything works. That's not how the world works. So what fairy tale world are Leo Rush and Tony Khan in that they can come to an understanding? So I think it'd be pretty fucked up if I threw to James first. Chad, you haven't been here in so long, and God, we're hitting you with so much, man. So much heavy stuff. Please enlighten us.
No, great segue. As an African American, I have to make sure that I try my best to do this correctly. I want everyone to know that Big Swole is absolutely entitled to feel however she feels, and we will never disregard that or put her aside. Everything she said about the women, spot on from my standpoint. I don't agree with everything. However, I do understand her attack towards the structure. I want to say that is literally just the business, but I know sometimes it is more than that. Everything I've watched within AEW has always been geared towards diversity. So I cannot speak on the non-diverse point she's making. I can speak on the non-diverse point in WWE. Therefore, I'm going to have to disagree with her on that one strongly. I mean, I don't have all the facts, but as long as I've been watching, it seems like the only Black main champion we had was The Rock. And from there, I think it was a long gap. And then Mark Henry, I think, after that. And then from there, Kofi. So these are years, almost decade-long gaps in between as far as diversity. I always feel like representation with WWE has failed time and time and time again. As a wrestling fan from a youth, I didn't see that representation a lot at all. So it's a new resurgence of Black champions. We got our Lashleys and our Biancas and our Big E's now, but I just want everyone to know that we literally just got here. We're just seeing these great things unfold or whatever, and we can talk about Big E's horrible and Lashley's horrible fucking booking as well. But that's the only takeaway I've seen much diversity on AEW, and I'm just now seeing direct diversity with intention from WWE. Other than that, like I said, I'm not gonna Tony Khan her. I'm not gonna attack a Black woman on my platform. I'm absolutely not doing that. I'm not arguing with any fans, period. My integrity is intact. I said what I said.
Very, very well put. Yeah, I think Swole specifically did say that WWE was an example of what not to do. So, because I think a lot of people are trying to force hypocrisy on her in certain ways, and by saying, well, WWE just started having it, but she did specifically say what not to do. And it's great that her daughter can watch WWE and feel represented now. That is really good, and I think that actually answers a question that I've had for like a little while, which was, why has Bianca been a face her whole time on the main roster when in NXT she was this amazing heel? But I think that kind of answers that question, and it makes sense. I think a lot of little girls can see Bianca and be inspired, and that makes sense. More people should grow up to be like Bianca Belair. We'd win all the Olympic gold medals if more people applied themselves like Bianca does. But yeah, I do agree that AEW is, I think, a very diverse roster. I think we can look at just the lineage of the women's championship, for that. We've had Riho, we've had Nyla Rose, and we've had Shida, and then we've had Britt Baker. So it's been very diverse there, and they made a secondary title just for Jade Cargill, someone who they want to be the women's champion one day, but know she needs a little more time. So they created a whole second title for her. And I think that's fantastic. And we're going to talk about this later, but she is the first ever TBS champion, and that's really good. And I don't watch Roads to the Top because I don't watch Ms. and Mrs. because I don't watch Total Bellas or Total Divas. But my sister does watch it. She doesn't even watch AEW, but she watches it, which is kind of interesting. And I did catch a part where Brandy was really trying to, have good representation, not only for the women, but for the women of color, back when Jade and Red Velvet were feuding. And, granted, this is a reality show, so they play this stuff up for drama. And, it's weird to pat yourself on the back for a feud that's, AEW dark worthy. But the point is the intention was there, whether or not, we can crap on the bookend all we want. And we just did, we will continue to do of the women. But, it's not for a lack of effort. And I could say that maybe we shouldn't have to wait 3 years for a Black AEW champion, but I do counter is that I don't know who that will be unless it's Keith Lee coming in. And I hope it is. I really, now that I've said it, and now James said it recently too, I want that so badly, and that's also bad because that ties into one of her points before, which was that these people keep coming in, but you don't have time for the people that are there. And I'm literally just talking about, man, if Keith Lee comes in, I want them to put the title on him. And it's like, that's another guy coming in and you're going to put the title on him, like instead of the people you have. But, it's Keith Lee. I don't think anyone would actually have a problem with that. But it is a rough subject to talk about. And, I think I'm a very well-spoken person, but I just use a different dialect than most people, and a little bit more dry sense of talking. And someone who's very, very much the opposite of me is James, who is going to be so well-spoken right now. I don't mean to hype him up and put any pressure on him, but man, he is just gonna give us the Jeff Winger feel-good speech without the sarcasm or the wit. And he's just going to make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside about that. He's going to nail it. He is well prepared for this. No pressure, buddy. James is Brazilian, by the way, so take that for what you will.
Thank you so much, my friend, for, the no pressure at all on the most white passing person in this group. God, what I would do to have Nick the Reverend here right now, so he can be even more awkward. All right.
Isn't he half Spanish though?
I don't know what species Nick is. I
thought so. Wait, his real name's not Rev, it's Nick.
It depends. I haven't seen his birth certificate in a while, so I forget. It could go either way. Yeah, when I get invested in people, I get invested, Danny. God. See, we're starting off fun. All right, in all seriousness, I think Big Swole could be both right and wrong talking about a very complex issue. We have all on the pod been clamoring for more diversity in AEW's World Championship division, I think. But on the flip side, we also feel that the 4 champions that they've had, starting from Jericho through Moxley, through Omega, through now Hangman, were carefully crafted for this company. And it's a story we've all been invested in for a very long time. I agree. I would love to see more Black representation in the men's division, in the world title scene. But for these last 3 years, unfortunately, I don't think AEW's roster had anybody who was as tailor-made for the world title as the 4 men who have already been champion. I think AEW has one of the best rosters on the planet, if not the best roster on the planet. And I think it has some incredible Black wrestlers. Jay Lethal, who I think everybody on this pod can agree with, is very... he is not being represented as well as he should be. Powerhouse Hobbs is somebody who had so much steam for a very long time, but sort of got lost in the shuffle with their new signings. I love the Acclaimed. They are, they're, Danny, that wasn't even just for you, but I'm happy I got you to pop. I think there is so much potential with them. They are a young team that need to develop more, but they are being featured prominently. And not to mention, as we've discussed already, the women's division is quite possibly the most diverse division in wrestling right now. I'm right there with you, Danny. I want Keith Lee as a world champion in whatever company he goes to as soon as possible. We all want it to be AEW because, my God, those matches are going to be incredible. But of the men that they have now, I don't think they have somebody who can just hop into that title scene. Maybe Jay Lethal can, but I don't think anything with how he's been handled since he's arrived in AEW would make me think this person is ready to be AEW champion. And that said, I could also see them, I mean, I know we're going from one controversial topic to another. I can see them being a little hesitant to push him to the world title scene when there is a little bit of controversy surrounding Jay Lethal regarding his past in Ring of Honor and certain allegations, which we don't need to go into again. I am happy to see that AEW is continuing to diversify. I am happy to see that it seems even before Swole's comments, certain people were getting more representation that is, quite frankly, earned. But I can understand there being frustration that in those first couple of years, it might not have been handled the best way. Now, moving over to other topics that Swole talked about, including structure. She is quite possibly the first person we have seen from AEW complain about the structure in AEW. I haven't, other than maybe Brian Cage's wife, but who the fuck cares? I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Fuck Brian Cage. Yeah, like, he didn't do anything wrong, I guess. Well, no, he did. He's just spoke like an asshole this week about Chris Benoit. But I'm getting all over the place. I'm sorry. Well, I know we could talk about that maybe later, but regardless, Swole is the first person who has truly come out and articulated an issue with how AEW's inner workings are structured. We have seen everybody, especially, may I say, people from WWE or who had previously been in WWE, I should say, come to AEW and speak about how much they prefer this style of booking. Now, to Danny's point that he made earlier about how I could see it being tough for those who may be less creative in a storytelling sense, or even people who might not have the confidence to go up and pitch something to Tony Khan or to an EVP. Not to sound cold, not to sound callous, this is a business where everybody is gunning for themselves. I am not saying that there aren't very giving people who would love to help out their fellow wrestler. But at the end of the day, if you can't push for yourself, you can't expect anybody else to push for you. And not when there is so limited TV time, which is something Swole mentioned. There isn't a wealth of TV for them to be on the same way WWE has right now. They have, however, they have a finite amount of time, and everybody is hoping for their 10 minutes if they're lucky. I would love to see maybe a level of help given to these people. But at the end of the day, if someone like Sammy Guevara has the fortitude to push for himself, I would like to see Sammy Guevara get pushed. So I don't work for AEW. I don't know how I'd feel if I was trying to fight for a spot and somebody else who might not be as talented as me, but had a better chance of articulating his potential or their potential, gets a spot ahead of me. I don't know how I'd feel, but I can say I don't think I hear many people complimenting WWE style of booking. You know, I don't see many people complimenting Impact's style of booking, and New Japan's booking, beyond the fact that it's gone through the shitter the last year or two. You know, it's its own world with how they book. So I don't know if someone like Swole would benefit from going to WWE or going somewhere else, but I'm sorry to hear that she felt she couldn't thrive with AEW's inner workings. That does suck to hear. You don't want to hear somebody say that they get burnt out for a reason like that. And I know there's more. Well, let me just also address Tony Khan, who I know you're listening, Tony. I know you've been a big fan of the pod. It could have been done better. Let's just, maybe it could have been done better by, not saying anything. Or, maybe handing your phone to somebody else to just not tweet for you. But it came across as very petty. And it's like, I think you said, Danny, maybe it's true. Maybe he wasn't a fan of Big Swole's work. I think she had room to grow. She had room to improve, but that should not have been anybody's response to such a serious topic being spoken about. And was there anything else regarding this? Lack of representation, what their division looked like, Tony Khan's response, the structure. Was there anything else that I'm forgetting to address?
You covered everything major in the story, although your comments about the non-creative people sounded very pick yourself up by your bootstraps of you there. And
oh no, God, I'm showing my
hilarious
age
in a way. But
it's not even so much. It's not. Damn it, Danny. Now I'm defending myself against something that you didn't even mean. Look, I want everybody to thrive, but it's like whatever wrestler said it. I think Austin. If you don't want to be world champ, you shouldn't be in this business. Like, if you don't if you can't fight for yourself, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe, no, I don't know who else would. But yeah, I hope Swole finds her love for wrestling again. I hope maybe she and AEW, and more specifically Tony Khan, can one day get on good terms again. But yeah, an unfortunate situation that I think could have been handled a little bit better, definitely by Tony Khan, and definitely by some fans as well.
Yeah, I feel like, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I think we handled this really well. And I'm going to throw that all away right now because you mentioned the Acclaimed earlier.
Oh, no.
One of the things I really wanted to say that's not too bad of a joke, really. It's not much of a joke. It's more something I genuinely mean, but I cannot wait for Max Caster to reference this in one of his raps.
Absolutely.
He's going to do it. He is 100% going to do it. And it's going to be bad. Whatever, it's going to be bad. People are going to be mad about whatever he says.
I think this is the best way that he could really take a dig and not get suspended, you know? Because it's like, what, you're going to suspend me after all this? Oh, man. Let's see.
Like, you know, on the dark segments on AEW shows, he's beefing with Tony Khan, but they're about to put their differences aside real quick. I can't wait for it. What you said about the world champions, you know, and the need for diversity, I agree with. There's so many Canadian world champions. 50% of their world champions have been Canadians. Then when is enough? Like, sheesh, you know? What else? This one's not a joke, but you know, I just don't think you can. Some of these criticisms, a lot of these criticisms hold water, but some of them, it's hard to like, you know, it would be hard to say when it's a company. What other major company would employ Sunny Kiss or Nyla Rose? You know, like it's. You know, like, and I hate to use them as like token examples because that's not good, but like, I'm sure they're grateful to be there. And, you know, certain people did speak out. Hobbs did speak out in defense of AEW. Leo Rush, after, you know, giving Tony Khan shit, walked back his outrage and, you know, defended AEW. I believe Lee Moriarty did as well, but I don't remember exactly what he said. So I don't want to say that for sure. So, you know, like it's a conversation. Big Swole started it, and people in the company are continuing it. People outside the company are continuing it, just very poorly, I'll put. So, you know, it's a conversation now, and you know that's a positive. And Big Swole seems to be having fun with it. You know, she's getting a lot of shit from fans on Twitter, and she's handling it very well from what I've seen. You know, she's laughing at some of the crazy comments that she is getting. So we'll see. But also, again, did Cody Rhodes not solve racism with his promo during the Anthony Ogogo feud? Because I thought he had that peer reviewed. He had that workshop. You know, like there was a demo group that heard that promo. And were like, "This is it, Chief. Put it on TV. It's never gonna get better than this." I thought that was the whole point of that, you know?
I mean, Danny, race relations may have been settled, but he clearly opened up to international troubles. And it's like, if it's not one thing, it's another with AEW, clearly. You
Such know, Anthony Ogogo has not been seen since then, but his country is also warred with more countries than any other country in the world. So, you know, maybe Cody was making an even deeper point than we all thought. But we've said so much about this very serious and delicate topic. So what's one or two more things, right? You thought we were moving on, but we're not. It is never over. Now that we've seriously discussed it and lightened the mood a little bit with some less serious comments, to go back to the subject of diversity, what's more diverse than a company that has hired an alien and a dinosaur and whatever Abaddon is, So it could, there's always room for improvement, but it's just pretty spread out there. Also, this is very, very unrelated, but I am Spanish and white, and my best friend is Guyanese, but we feel very well represented by Mustafa Ali in particular, because I am someone who constantly gets asked if I am Muslim, if I am Arabic, if I am in a Dunkin' Donuts or a convenience store. I get asked by old people if I work here all the time. It's something that I just laugh off because it's kind of funny. But Mustafa Ali is someone who I'm like, I almost see myself in him. So now I see what people see when they see me in these situations. So I just wanted to bring up Mustafa Ali in some way, shape, or form. And that may be a little forced, but I think his forgotten gimmick of the new face of America or the new United States was very meta. And I think it would have been very interesting to see in a time like this. So sorry that I've derailed us again. Sorry if what I said was so terrible. If that's where if I've now crossed the line, by all means, now guys, let me know. I'm sorry, Mustafa Ali, I'm a big fan, so I don't mean for that to come off as any other way. Anyway, anything to say, guys? Anything to stop me?
I love Mustafa Ali.
Yeah.
Honestly, who doesn't? Except WWE creative.
Oh,
but, guys, I don't know. I think Danny crossed the line. You should all follow him on social media so you can unfollow him and continue canceling members of the Mark Down podcast. Why do you think we haven't seen the Reverend in a while? Cancels.
I'll be a martyr. That's fine. I'll do it. I'll be a hero. Max Caster will feature me in one of his raps. That's the goal. So we're gonna leave AEW for just like 3 minutes, honestly. And we're gonna talk about New Japan because Wrestle Kingdom happened a few days ago from when you're seeing this, and here to explain it in less than 2 minutes is our very own Taya. Sorry, I didn't have like a real clever thing, so I just went back to the intro stuff.
I don't have any interesting like Yu-Gi-Oh card to use as a reference to get me into this, but I will fly away on my flying Karibo to make this happen. That was forced. So Wrestle Kingdom 16. Our 16th Wrestle Kingdom happening now. Finally, because 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom wasn't enough, we're now getting 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, guys. And there has been, like every year, a lot of good wrestling. And we are finally putting to bed some long-awaited things. For one, we have the return of Shibata, one of the most hard-hitting, strong-style wrestlers I've ever seen, who unfortunately had to retire a couple of years ago due to a grave concussion that we all just assumed would mean we would never see Shibata in a ring again. But he is back. He looked good. He went a little over 10 minutes, and I think this is the start of, Shibata's comeback. And I'm very excited to see that he's healthy enough to do what he loves. We saw a couple of title changes, which, par for the course for a big show. Evil took out Ishii for the Never title. And Chaos with Goto and Yoshihashi took out the Dangerous Techers, which were Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. for the tag titles. But moving towards the main event, at least of night one, I've expressed before in the past here with the pod that there has been a lot of unrest, a lot of confusion regarding the main event scene of New Japan Pro Wrestling. There were three men all claiming to be the rightful champion, the proper champion of New Japan. We have the official IWGP World Champion, Shingo Takagi, who won the belt after the previous IWGP World Champion, Will Ospreay, had to vacate the belt due to injury. After Ospreay was cleared to return, he still carried a version of the IWGP World Championship, claiming he was the rightful champion. All the while, G1 winner Okada brought back the previous version of the IWGP Championship, claiming that's the belt that matters, and he's the only champion that is worth anything in New Japan. Well, night one saw Shingo Takagi versus Kazuchika Okada to name the rightful IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and bringing the reign back to New Japan. Okada beat Takagi and went on to night two to face his former Chaos stablemate, Will Ospreay, to declare once and for all the official IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And Okada is once again reigning supreme over the rest of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's become a meme over recent years just to talk about how good a wrestler Okada is. Quite possibly the best wrestler on the planet. We've noted that New Japan's booking and New Japan's value amongst fans has sort of faltered a little bit since the pandemic started. Okada once again being champion indicates sort of a return to form for the company. Some of New Japan's best years were under Okada's title reign. And I think, and yes, I say singular title reign because that's how long he was champion. I think this is a signal of good things to come for the company. I think we're gonna, I don't want to speak for the entire pod, but I can say I think I'm going to be spending a little bit more time focusing on New Japan, and that might lead to more focusing and more coverage of New Japan here on the pod. So if that's something you've been hoping for, I will try to deliver on that. And yes, always give Japanese wrestling a chance if you haven't already. New Japan is the premier Japanese wrestling company in, I don't want to say the world, but I guess that makes sense too. But yes, give New Japan a go. A lot of your favorite AEW talent had a run in New Japan. Some of your favorite WWE talent had a run in New Japan. And this is as good a time as any to go give them a look.
I just want to let you guys know that James is not going to keep that promise to you. Those were empty words, and there will be New Japan coverage from time to time, but he does not mean what he said about having more coverage. Also, I mean this is a compliment, but I'm going to say it in a tone that sounds like an insult. The hair you're rocking right now gives me Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man 3 vibes.
No.
I concur.
You know,
damn it.
I'm sorry.
I think everything you said was well put. We all do mean to check out Wrestle Kingdom. It kind of snuck up on us this year, or at least for me. You know, I know it's like the same time every year, but you know, time is just not a real thing, and it's just passing by at whatever rate it feels like. Chad, do you have any opinions on the story James just told us?
I have to fully immerse myself in New Japan because I've seen matches here and there, and I've subscribed on YouTube, so I get the videos here and there. But James, every time he speaks about it, he speaks with such passion that makes me want to watch a complete pay-per-view like as soon as he says it. So I really had to get into it, but
I could tell you, Chad, one of my dreams as a wrestling fan is to go to Japan and watch Wrestle Kingdom because the quality of wrestling there is that good. And it feels like it's on the level of going to a WrestleMania.
I'm sold. I'm sold already.
All right, Chad, if you went to Japan, would you go for wrestling or for anime stuff? Because I feel like it's
both. It's it's hand in hand. There's no wrong way to answer that.
Boom. Option C, Danny. Option C.
Oh my God, is that a TNA reference? I'm gonna throw up in my mouth. But anyway, moving on to a company that has, kind of was birthed from New Japan, or at least wrestlers who got really, really popular in New Japan. We're going to talk about AEW. Yeah, that's right. You guys thought it wasn't going to happen. You were like, oh my God, this podcast has been going on for so long and they haven't talked about Dynamite. What the fuck, man? Are they not going to do it? They didn't talk about it last week. They did a fucking New Year's episode. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, when are they going to talk about Dynamite? Well, it's going to happen now a little bit, just a tad, because Dynamite happened. That was the first Dynamite on TBS, which stands for The Big Show. I don't know. The Big Swole, maybe that's fit in. Total Buff Starfish. I don't know. I wanted to make a bunch of these. I didn't, but TBS is the new home of AEW Dynamite. Not the first time they've hosted wrestling, but it is the most recent. And this was the first episode, and they started off with somewhat of a bang. I don't know. I don't know your guys' opinions of the show, but maybe someone in our group has poisoned my mind a little bit, but I was a little underwhelmed by what was a really good show, but I was still a little underwhelmed. I thought there would just be a little more. But to recap the show started off with a world title match. They started off with a world title match about a month ago, and Winter is Coming, and it ended in a draw. So they had a rematch with judges whose names you wouldn't know. They're not big names in the world of wrestling. You wouldn't know who they were, but they were there just in case we had another time limit draw to decide a winner, which, I think meant they were going to be a non-factor. And they were a non-factor because heel Hangman Adam Page defeated babyface Bryan Danielson in a good match. Not as good as their first match, but of course it wasn't going to be. But the wrong and or right person, depending on your sadistic view of the world, won. And it's a nice feather in the cap for the champion. It would have been a good way to start off the TBS era by having a big title change with a super recognizable name in the world of wrestling. But, maybe I'm just an asshole. But I did want Bryan to win this match. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I just love him so much. And I couldn't let go of that bias. I usually, AEW fans in general, try to be good. We try to play along. We try to boo the people that want us to boo and cheer the people who want us to cheer. But I just can't do that with Bryan. So I wanted him to win. Also, I want Hangman to chase again. I think he's meant to chase. I think his character is someone who's never meant to fully succeed and always meant to have that sort of doubt in his mind. But he won, and that's okay. I don't know what you do with Bryan now, but the match was good. It was a lot of blood. Chad, I know you're happy about this, so I'm going to you know, we're gonna sandwich you with our Brian love and bias and let you, you know, show you Hangman some love in the middle.
Yes. I'm in the minority here.
Literally just here in this group though, not in the AEW fandom, just in this group of 3 right now.
I am, everyone knows I've said this time and time again, I'm a newer fan. And I am just so captured by Adam Hangman Page's storyline that I am all in, pun intended. I'm just there. Like, I want him to win. I see him as the champion. I root for him. I also love Brian. I will I will not let anybody tell me any different. I know you guys love him more than me. However, I love Bryan Danielson. I always have. But I think what happened needed to happen. I needed Page to beat Brian. I needed him to look strong. I needed him to bleed. I needed him to fight tooth and nail. I needed him to almost lose a whole bunch of times. I needed the unimportant judges. I loved all of it, that whole aspect. It was underwhelming compared to the first match. I agree. But I loved it. I'm here for it. I like it. He looks like a strong champ. I want him to continue being champ. I don't want Brian to touch the championship yet. Other than that, I mean, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
All right. Yeah. I don't want it to come off like I don't love Hangman, because I do. It's just what I've convinced myself is the way to go. I've convinced myself, so I've worked myself into a shoot, essentially. But 2 days ago, I got out of work and, you know, I wanted to unwind. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hit a bar. I'm gonna go to a bar and just have like a beer or two and relax a little bit. I'm not a big drinker, but it was just one of those nights. So I go to this bar and I see a bunch of people. They're having a good time. They're having fun. You know, they've clearly already had a few drinks. And I see a guy with an apple on his head standing in front of a dartboard. And I'm just like, that's stupid. That's some jackass shit right there. They must be wasted. And then someone's about to throw a dart and try to hit the apple off the guy's head. And that person was James. And I'm not going to tell you what happened next, but, you know, I just thought it was weird that James was in that position. I wish he invited us, you know, that would have been cool. Like, I actually live relatively close to James, you know, so I would have appreciated the invite, but, you know, that's okay. I really only bring that up because it would make you think that he was supporting Hangman based on everything I just told you. But I think he was rooting for someone else in this match. So why don't you fill us in on your thoughts on this match?
I would love to. And I also just got to throw in this anecdote. I got my first ever bullseye in 2021. I was at I was with friends and we were just throwing it around and just I was like, fuck it. And it was like, I knew I will never be cooler than I was in that moment.
And
way to go, Colin Farrell.
Once that happened,
that's a comic joke.
Went to your head. Like, that was in 2021, and here we are in the beginning of 2022, and you're like, I could hit this apple off your head, bro. Just put the apple on. So
I'm sorry I got the guy in the eye. You know, it sucks. But we all learn, we all live, and, you know, God gave us two for a reason. Or whoever you believe in. Maybe science gave us two eyes for a reason. I'm not sure. But anyway, yes, it's always rough to root against Cinderella. And I found myself rooting against Cinderella here, which it's hard because, hey, Brian was Cinderella once upon a time in WWE. But look, I actually agree with something Chad said. It needed to happen. Hangman, I think, needed to win as much as I wanted Bryan to win. To have Hangman only wrestle 2 matches since he's won the title, and to have him lose the title in either one of those 2 matches would, I think, be too much, and I think would hurt his stock a little bit. I agree with you, Danny. I think he is destined to have a short reign. I think he is destined to be more of a chaser than a champion himself, and I think that's going to work for him. But he needs to also not just be the guy who beat Kenny Omega. He needs to show that he is worthy of being champion. And I don't think there's anybody in the company right now who you could beat that helps you feel that way than Bryan Danielson. That said, if they have a third match, I want it to be Bryan now, because fuck, my guy is putting on some of the best matches I've seen, I think, ever. And this match was a little rough for me. I'm still shell-shocked from getting Bryan back in the first, losing him and getting him back, and seeing so many headbutts was rough. It was scary. And truth be told, I think there was 1 or 2 that I was like, holy shit, that was harder than it needed to be. But it was a bloody match. It was a stiff match. It was a hard-hitting match. And I agree. I think the first match was a little bit better. But this match had actually something that I loved, which was, as we've seen from Bryan since his first match in AEW to basically his last match before Hangman, Bryan has won almost every match with a different move, proving that he could put you away in several different ways. And then as this match continues, Bryan is hitting them all one by one onto Hangman, and it's just not putting Hangman down. He took the knee, kicks out, puts him in a heel hook, breaks out, puts him in the label lock, breaks out, puts him in a triangle choke, breaks out. No matter what Bryan did, Hangman was able to either fight his way out or to survive. And I think I don't want to shit on another company or past stuff, but I think that's how you build up a guy and then have the guy who beats him feel worthy of beating him. To go back to WWE, when Brock Lesnar was pinning everybody with one F5 when he was, I think, Universal Champion at the time. He was pinning Braun Strowman with one F5, Samoa Joe with one F5. He was pinning everybody with one F5. And then the Roman match happens at WrestleMania, and then he hits 5 fucking F5s before he still beats Roman. It's like a year of buildup was thrown away for nothing. But then here with Bryan, all that buildup of Bryan beating everybody differently, none of it was enough to beat the AEW champion. And I think that is excellent storytelling. I think that is excellent matchmaking. And again, do I want Bryan to be champion? Hell yeah. Would I have been upset if Bryan won? Hell no. I would have loved it. But the match we got was good. Hangman looks better because of it. And I don't think the AEW championship is going to be too far away from Bryan's waist in the future.
Fair enough. I think it just depends on your viewpoint of things as a wrestling fan. Like, do you put the title on Bryan because you're trying to convert people and he's recognizable, or do you beat Bryan to show, hey, look how good our people are? And in certain cases like this one, I don't think either way is wrong. I just had a preference.
Likewise.
You know, I'm gonna go right back to Love and Hangman. I just really, really wanted Bryan to win. So
he's making it hard though. He pinned 2 of my favorite wrestlers in a row in championship matches, from Kenny Omega to Bryan Danielson. Hangman, you're not making it easy, man. You're not making it easy.
No, he's not. But he is succeeding. So, you know, it takes a special kind of cowboy to do that. So some other notes from Dynamite. Real quick before we talk about more important stuff. Malachi Black destroyed what's his name in about 5 minutes. It's Brian Pillman Jr., I know, but there was a nothing match, but you know, it's a big show. You put Malachi on, he is someone that's super over with the crowd. The Acclaimed are going to have a music video for Darby and Sting next week. It's going to be the best thing on the show, I guarantee it. But for this week, it was just a little hype package for that. So the most important things on the show, besides the title match where the bad guy won, was we had the finals for the TBS title tournament, which featured Jade Cargill and Ruby Soho. And to the shock of some, but not to me, who thought this whole tournament was made for one person in particular, Jade Cargill won the TBS title in a short, okay match. Not gonna lie, it wasn't the best. Ruby's had way better. Jade really hasn't, because she's still young into her career, and she's only had this is her second match that went more than 4 minutes. So, I won't give her too hard of a time for that, but she is a new champion, and I think that's awesome because I think she has the look, I think she has the charisma, the presence, and I think in due time, I think a few title defenses in, her in-ring ability will only get better from here. And like I jokingly dissed Bianca for earlier, I will not praise Jade for it because she's using Beth Phoenix's finisher as a finisher. So that's pretty cool. What do you guys think about this? Chad, how did you like the match? How do you like the results? What do you think?
The match was okay. It wasn't bad at all. I agree. Jade needs a little in-ring work. She's kind of green. However, that doesn't take away from the look and the charisma and the appeal. I'm really glad she won. Ruby looked great as always. I really can't complain, actually. I have to shout out the Aurora Monroe tribute. That was beautiful for me. That Storm, Danny. The Storm cosplay was amazing. James called it out via text, and I was like, oh shit. I rewinded it actually 3 or 4 times.
Nice. I get references. I knew she was Storm. I didn't know that was Storm's name though. So I do. Yeah, it's good that you can't complain. That's very unusual for wrestling fans. So that's new. I guess I'll force the complaint out. I think Jade winning is the call, but I do worry what is there for Ruby to do now. She's kind of just the person that's lost the big title match twice now, and it kind of seems, her momentum from her debut is not quite there anymore, and part of that's due to her not winning these matches, but part of that is due to the structure of AEW and the fact that, if you're not fighting the champion, or in this case, fighting for the TBS title, you're not on Dynamite and you're on Dark. But James, do you have a positive and or negative or neutral opinion to, those are the options to add here?
I'm mostly neutral. I would have loved to see Ruby win, but I think we all knew from the moment the title was created and the tournament was announced and the participants were announced that Jade was going to go all the way and win. I have hope for her. She is still very, very, very green, but hey, they have to see something in her if they continue pushing her the way they are, and I'm starting to see it a little bit too. Her hitting her finisher, it was interesting. It's something I didn't initially pick up on, but when I was reading about it, I saw people mention it, and I got to give her credit for it. She was initially going to go for the finish from the very top rope. But then I think she realized as she was about to perform it that it was too high and the risk of injury was a little too much. And then she goes down to the second rope. And I don't know if that was something that was planned ahead. I don't know if that was something that she called on the fly, but it was a nice little detail that gave me faith that she is improving in the ring, that her ring awareness, her ring psychology is getting better. And, you know, I still do think she has a way to go, but I think this TBS title, like you said, Danny, but in terms of Ruby, if you're not going for a title, you're probably stuck on Dark or stuck on Elevation. But now with Jade being the TBS champion, the likelihood of us seeing her wrestle higher caliber opponents who are going to help make her a better wrestler in the process is probably going to be more frequent. And I think you could only get better from there. Or you suck and then you just flounder. But I don't think that's the case. I'm going to be hopeful for her in 2022. And that bitch show championship, as she has been calling it, let's see how far she can take it.
I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Farron. She was at Dynamite this week, because you don't know when we're recording this or when it's coming out. It could be any day of the week, but she was at Dynamite and she had a terrible time. And I'm so sorry, Fairbear. I wish you had a better time. I wish Darby was on the show and Sting. And, I wish the New Jersey crowd was a little better, because, I thought they were a little weak, compared to normal AEW crowds. So I get that. And I wish Bryan Danielson won the title, but that's irrelevant. I don't know how that would have made you feel. But anyway, I want to give a quick shout out to Farron, who still had a great time despite that. But one of the things she got to see in person and hear in person were crowds tell MJF to shut the fuck up, because they like to do that. And he came out for a match with Shawn Dean, I believe, and the match was maybe the best match Shawn Dean's ever had on Dynamite. I think I can say that as a joke, but it actually be true. So, because CM Punk immediately ran down and caused MJF to run out of the ring, chill on the ramp for a bit, and Punk was like, I'm just going to beat up this guy, hit him with the GTS, cause a DQ. I'm going to WWE this guy right now, and that'll show him, because MJF wants to keep talking about how he might just leave to get heat, and Punk's like, well, this is what you're in for if you go there. Bullshit finishes like this. And then they had a quick little back and forth, some great lines. The reference in MJF teasing him leaving when his contract comes up. Referencing Punk never main evented a WrestleMania. And Punk had a great line that I'm going to butcher, but it was really nice, where he said, you think the grass is greener on the other side? Go ahead. Go main event night 4 of a buy one, get one free event. And it was so good. It was so good. I know we're just talking about Wrestle Kingdom and we're saying nice things. And when I say we, I mean James, because me and Chad didn't really speak on the subject. But, I do think the 2-night WrestleMania is technically better than a 7-hour 1-night WrestleMania, but I don't like it in general, and it feels less special. And I've said with James last week, and I've said it before, when I don't like calling the last match of night 1 the main event, because you would never put it on the main event if WrestleMania was 1 night. I'm very sorry, Sasha and Bianca, but we don't go around saying AJ Styles and Undertaker main event at WrestleMania the year before in the Boneyard match now, do we? We don't say AJ Styles is a WrestleMania main eventer, even though by that logic, he is. So I really appreciated that line from Punk. Just another nice little wrinkle in the chapter of MJF and Punk, who acted like they were going to separate last week, but it turns out they're just going to find new ways to interfere in each other's lives. Just get a room, you two, right? Chad, did you like this little back and forth? I know it wasn't much, but it was something, right?
I absolutely liked it. Every time CM Punk and MJF get together, it's always going to be fun for me. I'll go out on a limb and say MJF might be my favorite heel in the last probably 3 years, literally. Like, right? Fair? It's pretty fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Everything, I mean, we all know he has the zingers, he has the talk. I think he's breaking Punk out of his dry spell and his shell. Punk is at his top when he's going against him. I love MJF, man. I just love him. It's great. Everybody knows I stand CM Punk, but this was a this was an MJF appreciation tweet.
There you go. Yeah, like it really seemed like you were having a realization when you said you love MJF. Like it really just dawned on you right there. And yeah, they are bringing out the best in each other. It's funny because ever since he lost to Chris Jericho, MJF has just been unbelievable with his promos, and he's one of the only people that can get away with insulting a hometown and not having it feel cheap because he's so good at it. And we've said that we think MJF has been kind of winning this promo battle with CM Punk, and I think if we're like breaking it down week by week, I would give Punk the win this week because I think his comeback was just so good. But it was a nice little chapter in their story. And James, where do you lie on this? As someone who is constantly provoking MJF and is borderline willing to fight him, where did you stand on this week?
I agree with you. I think Punk definitely won this week, and that's not for lack of effort from MJF. MJF really did come out guns a-blazing, but Punk was he was ready for that Uno reverse card. And I loved the DQ. First of all, let me just say that I love the DQ. And I think it speaks to AEW because I think this might be the first Dynamite to highlight a DQ. I know it's not the first DQ in AEW. I know that there's been one or two in the company's history, but I think this might be the first DQ on Dynamite. And even if it is like the second one or maybe the third, it speaks to how rarely it happens. And even in an instance like this, it was done in a way that made so much sense. MJF is saying he wants the title and Punk is in his rear view mirror. He wants nothing to do with Punk. So what does Punk do? He fucks with any chance that MJF is gonna have to ever go for the title because AEW is based off of rankings. And if you can't win, you're not gonna go for the title. I loved it. It made sense. It's not something that happens all that often in AEW, so it becomes more palatable to have a segment like this. And when it does happen, it's almost welcome because it's different. But I loved it. I love the WrestleMania line. I absolutely loved it. And it's funny because I was watching this with my dad and MJF is doing his bit like, yeah, you want to see me and Punk? You want to see me next? Like he's doing his thing. And he said, next week, CM Punk versus, and before he even said it, I was like, Wardlow. And then he said, Wardlow. And I was like, yeah, because this is MJF and that's what he does. And the Wardlow storyline that's also going on in AEW is working in a way that there are so many possibilities for where this can go. Like we know we're all expecting MJF versus Wardlow at some point, but does Wardlow unintentionally screw MJF? Does he intentionally screw MJF? Does Punk try to lure Wardlow away from MJF? There are so many options and there are so many moving parts to this with Sean Spears, with Wardlow, with Punk, with MJF. Now maybe, I doubt it, but maybe it was Sean Dean, right? Maybe Sean Dean. And I really like how this is going, and I think there's more to come, and I like more surprises to come. And as long as they continue battling it out on the mic the way they are, I could keep doing this for a while.
Yeah, the only DQ I can remember on Dynamite was during the 2 out of 3 falls match with Pac and Kenny, where Pac hit Kenny with the chair so that he can just take the next fall by hitting the Black Arrow and the Rings of Saturn, I believe was the name of the submission.
Yeah.
But even then, that's in a 2 out of 3 falls match, so it's almost like a throwaway DQ. Whereas this one was also a throwaway DQ, but in a singles 1 fall match. So, you know, it was definitely different. And yeah, we'll see where they go with MJF and Punk from here. No matter what, I'm sure it'll be good. So the arguably most noteworthy thing from the show, which, you know, was the main event, so it has that merit, was the Lucha Bros versus Jurassic Express. I always want to combine Lucha. I always want to say Lucha Express or Jungle Express. And just like get it wrong. I always have to slow down and think about it. But before we talk about the match and how good it was and the ended, Phoenix did get injured during this match during a table spot. It was pretty bad. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. So we all send our well wishes to Phoenix. That being said, that aside, I'm very happy with the results of this match. Me and Chad, everyone, but like I feel like me and Chad especially, we love Luchasaurus. You know, everyone's all like, "Oh, Jungle Boy, he's the future. He's one of the pillars." And I'm over here like, "Bro, this dude hangs out with a dinosaur. Why aren't we talking about that more? Like, are you kidding me? Like, Luchasaurus is great, man. He's what Kane was to me as a child. That's what Luchasaurus would be to me if I was a kid now. Like, he's fantastic. So he is now a champion. Him and Jungle Boy won a hard-fought match where I think we all, or at least a lot of us, expected some shenanigans from Christian in this match. I think a lot of us smelled a heel turn coming from him or something. But instead, it was Alex Abrahantes who kind of lost his cool during the match and pulled out the table, which, you know, ultimately ended up injuring Phoenix. But that was a little jarring. I'm not going to lie, that didn't really mesh well with me. It didn't make a lot of sense. But I've always had that problem with Penta, where he was turning heel for his like 3-week feud with Cody, and then he was just facing like whatever. Like, I think Penta is cool, but like he works better as a heel. Like, everything about him looks like a heel. But that aside, this was a great moment for Jurassic Express to finally win the tag titles. So good. So happy for Luchasaurus. So happy for Jungle Boy. And, you know, we're just talking about MJF. He is now the only pillar to have not held a title in AEW. And that's even including Britt, if depending on your view of the pillars. Like, he's still just the only one, no matter which way you slice it. So that's interesting. But it was a really good moment. I just talked about how happy I was about it, so I don't want to put a damper on it. But the ending was felt a little flat to me. They had all the tag teams stand on the ramp looking. They cut to Jericho for some reason. I don't think that made a lot of sense. That was weird. And they cut to Malachi Black, who had an interaction with the Lucha Bros before the match, and everyone thought that Brody King was going to come in because he was teased a couple of weeks ago. And like, we all know he's coming. It's not a surprise. It's just more of like a, when are you going to do it, as opposed to like, is it going to happen sort of thing. And, you know, again, because it was the first show on TBS, and I think we all kind of got in our own heads that maybe a bigger debut was going to happen or some sort of surprise to end the show. Especially, once again, rumors are surfacing that there's going to be was going to be a big debut either this week or next soon. And, you know, of course, everyone thinks Wyatt or Gargano or one of those types of names. And, you know, this was a good show, but I felt it left a decent amount to be desired, especially for the first show on TBS. But to go back to being positive, how awesome is it that Luchasaurus is holding the title, Chad? Like, how cool is that?
It's phenomenal as fuck. Until like I don't think I realized until you just said that Luchasaurus is technically Kane in your childhood mind. And that just opened so many doors for me because I was also a super Kane fan from the 90s on. I loved Kane always. Kane over Undertaker. Sorry guys. But
yeah. No doubt.
with that being
said, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry about that ever. I mean, yeah, don't be sorry about that.
With that being said, I am stoked. I'm psyched that Luchasaurus is a champion. I've been saying it since I started, how underrated he was. I've been wanting them to have the tag titles before I even knew how good they actually were. So I'm hyped. I'm cool with that. Phoenix, rest in peace to that arm, my boy. That shit was crazy. That was intense, but good match. I'm with Danny. The end was kind of bittersweet. I mean, I really don't know what the hell that was supposed to be, so I can't judge. It just was kind of lackluster. With everybody else, I guess I kind of thought since Malachi went dark a little earlier that we'd get some tag team action in that, in that aspect, and that didn't happen. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. My fault for having those expectations. But overall, though, I still think, I mean, 3 title shots on one show. I think that was pretty good. It was a good TBS debut. I'll give it that. It wasn't great, and it, there did leave room to be desired, but I'm cool with it. I'm satisfied.
Fair enough. And yeah, Kane over Undertaker all day. What a shitty brother Undertaker is. Like, come on.
He burned his brother alive. Yes, absolutely shitty.
Yeah, and we're supposed to think Kane was the bad guy there. Are you kidding me? Like,
agreed.
How dare you? How dare you? But all we need now, if Chris Statlander could win a title in the women's division, oh man, this would just be what a time to be a wrestling fan. You'd have an alien champion, a dinosaur champion. It would be a great way to spend 2021. But I feel like me and Chad have really gushed over Luchasaurus, which I think is unexpected because, everyone always talks about Jungle Boy. And now I feel like James is going to be the one to be like, well, the Pillar has a title and Jungle Boy after all this has a title. And, you might as well get that over with, James, because we all love Jungle Boy, but, we're just trying to show the proper amount of respect to Luchasaurus.
Well, here I am about to throw you a curveball because...
Oh, shit. I play baseball. That's cool.
Where the fuck is the respect for Marco Stunt? Where is Marco? Because he was so instrumental in helping get these two over in the beginning. And not that they couldn't have gotten over without him, because, they are that good. But where the fuck is Marco, and how did he grow like 3 feet to become Christian?
Vitamins.
We found something Hogan was right about. But I am very happy for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. They both deserve this. They're both very hardworking talents. They're both very entertaining talents. And it felt like they could only put this off for so long. For wrestlers as popular as these two are, because they are some of the most popular wrestlers in the company. To have them go after title and have them in big match after big match and never quite get there, never quite make it and grab that championship. It was getting to a point of either now or never. Either break them up, unfortunate, which I don't think anybody wants, but either break them up and have them do something else or do it now. And I'm so glad we're in a position that they're champions, that they earned being champions, and it feels good to have happened. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't see a long reign for them. I think it was more about the moment than anything else, but I'm hoping, good things for them. I think there is a bunch of teams that they are going to be able to do good stuff with, and hell, a bunch of them came out at the end to, for some inexplicable reason, ruin the moment when I don't think that's ever been a thing in AEW before. So, okay. But yeah, it was good. I expect nothing less from these guys. All four of them delivered. Like you said, I'm hoping for a speedy recovery for Phoenix because that was gnarly. His arm did something that arms aren't supposed to do. And, it was a good match. I'm with you, Danny. I guess it's my own fault that my expectations were a little high and I didn't quite get everything I wanted, but I could also say we were baited a little bit. The Malachi Black segment that happened right beforehand where they interacted, the lights went out and he left, and why, if that's not going to lead to anything or if that's not going to have an impact on anything, especially because beyond us just having expectations that maybe Brody King is going to debut, Malachi himself was teasing it on social media where he posted that picture of him with or of that dark figure with the red on it. And he says 2 will become 3 or whatever cryptic weird thing that Malachi Black is going to say. He said something and he's been feeding those flames for weeks now, if not longer, that get ready. The House of Black is going to be a thing. We're going to see things. And week after week, nothing happens. Fuck, even his sort of tag team partner, Andrade, where the hell has he been? I know people are mixed on him, but he just left. Nobody has seen him. So I need them to really start putting things into overdrive with Black because it just feels like a whole lot of nothing. But that shouldn't have impacted the tag match, but I think that it did. I unfortunately think that it did, which is a shame because the match was good on its own without needing anything else. But I enjoyed the match. I'm happy that another pillar is being recognized. I'm okay with having 5 pillars. Who says you need 4 pillars? You could have 6 pillars. You could have a few pillars. But I'm glad that Jungle Boy is getting stuff. I'm glad Luchasaurus is getting stuff. I miss Marco, and good for Christian. Yeah, you go, Dad. You go, Uncle Christian, getting these young kids a championship. And who could say I did not have on my bingo card Christian having a better year than Edge, and here we are, where he actually feels like he's doing important stuff or is involved in important stuff regularly, and Edge is facing The Miz.
Haha, yes. I'm so glad anytime we shit on The Miz.
I love The Miz, but this isn't what we need. Nobody wants this right now.
I know, it's a waste of one of Edge's few matches he has left in the tank. But Andrade was on Rampage this past week, which is fair because it was New Year's Rampage, so no one really saw it. He, for some reason, came out after Darby's match with Anthony Bowen.
Yeah.
And then the Acclaimed beat up Darby and Sting. And, hence why they're going to, I love that the Acclaimed are going to be on TV next week and have this music video. I don't like their association with Andrade. But, quick shout out to the New Year's Rampage. That street fight was fucking crazy with the Anna Jay and Tay Conti versus the Bunny and Penelope Ford. Holy shit, the Bunny has just made herself right there in that match. The faces won because of course they did, because you know what? A random critique I'm going to throw out of AEW right now. The faces win a little bit too much in AEW and especially in lower card feuds. But the Bunny stood out so much in that match. A lot of that's because she bled like fucking crazy, but she took all the worst bumps in that match besides Tay and Penelope's the moonsault table spot with the table not breaking, which wasn't intended to be such a brutal spot, but the table's gonna table, but that's all we have time for, folks. I'm sorry for this really short episode, I'm sure, but we gotta go. We got stuff to do. James has people to harass. Chad has cool stuff to do. I've got indifferent stuff to do, you know, and we just gotta go. It's a good start to 2022, you know, and we're gonna have a lot coming for you guys this year. All right, I'm going off book here. Everything else I said was planned. I ran it by them. They knew I was gonna say it, but this they didn't know I'm gonna say. We have a lot of surprises for you this year. We're gonna change things up. We're gonna add some more content. There's gonna be new things on the channel. There's gonna be new things on social media, and you know, some of it we know what it is. Some of it only I know what it is. Some of it we haven't even dreamt of yet. But we're gonna go to sleep and we're gonna get right on that. So don't you worry. Enjoy your weekend as you're watching this. If you're watching it next week, sorry, but we gotta go. Once again, thank you for watching the Market Down podcast. I have been Joey Wheeler for Taya Gardner and Tristan Taylor. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. You're fired. Please vacate the premises. Follow us on social media, preferably Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Check us out on Audio Mac. That's the thing, right? And you know, as always, put us in your top 8 on MySpace. You will not regret it. Yeah, that's all. Keep it shady, guys. Have a good one. Click out of the video now. What are you doing here? So.